Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Today I am talking to you about psychological safety in HR. Is psychological safety the key to banishing burnout? That's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. Is psychological safety in HR the key to banishing burnout? And of course, this may or may not apply to other areas of the organisation as well. If you are there on this Monday morning, the sun is shining where I am. I don't know about where you are, but the sun is shining where I am. Let me know where you are. Say hi. Let me know where you're from. And let's get started. But I suppose also, before we go into it, how are you feeling today? Let me know how you're feeling. Is it a good Monday? Is it not a good Monday? Did you have a lovely weekend? Feel free to let me have all of the deets in the comments. Let's have a little bit of a lovely midday Monday chat, shall we? So if you're there, hi. Where are you from? Did you have a lovely weekend? I had a fabulous weekend this week. My partner and I went to watch the Lionesses in Leicester on Friday. They won, but I have to say, we were both really struggling. The seats were so uncomfortable. So ridiculously uncomfortable. At one point, I thought he'd said to me at the end, like, I can't believe that I've stayed. He was ready to walk out after 60 minutes. The seats were the smallest seats that we've ever sat in at a football stadium, but we had a great time. They won, which was the main thing. We won't mention the hour that it took us to get out of the car park afterwards, but we had an amazing time. Yesterday, I had another yoga assessment for another yoga qualification, which I passed. Whoop whoop. So that was lovely. And of course, on Mondays in the HRABC, so the HR Anti-Burnout Club, on Monday mornings, we activate ready for our week. And I am I love Monday mornings. I love Mondays anyway. I think the start of a new week is always fantastic. But to get to share it with the ABCers, so we do live coaching, live group coaching for half an hour on a Monday morning, getting us set up for the week. Checking our diaries. It's so much fun. But I have I made everybody laugh last week that I wasn't aware of. I thought the way in which we activate, I've been pretty much doing the same kind of thing to get everybody in the right kind of physical and mental state for Mondays. And last week I thought, let's shake it up a bit. So I put on some of my favourite music to share with them. And I was dancing around in front of the camera, actually. I was kind of dancing to the music to get everybody motivated, not realising, and I had asked them, but only half the group could hear what I was playing. So for the rest of them, I just look like I'm dancing like a wally. But I did make them all laugh. They did say to me on the Friday finale that I made them laugh. I put a smile on their faces on a Monday morning. So I don't mind dancing like a bit of an idiot on a Monday morning if it activated everybody else for the week, right? Ultimately, that's what we're here for. Kerry, hi, West Midlands. Oh, whereabouts? Whereabouts, Kerry, in the West Midlands? Feeling great after a fabulous weekend with family and friends, maybe. Bit of fancy dress. Great to join. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining. Everybody's kind of getting ready for Halloween stuff, aren't they? I feel like I'm a little bit behind with that. I haven't done anything for it this year, and we live in the middle of nowhere anyway, so we don't get anybody coming to knock at our door. We're so far away from any kind of people. But my eldest son has booked Wednesday off work. He is going to head to Leicester tomorrow night for one of his mates is at uni, so he's going for a Halloween party up there. So that should all be lots of fun, shouldn't it? Okay, so psychological safety. Again, if you have questions, if you've got comments, if you've got anything that you want to add, feel free to do it in the comments. If you are new, I go live on Mondays at midday. We talk about a topic, particularly a topic that is impacting HR. I have scheduled these right through until the end of the year. So if you go to my profile, if you're on LinkedIn, So LinkedIn on my profile, they'll be under events. On Facebook, if you head to the events tab, you'll find them there, and they're also scheduled on YouTube. So these conversations are live streamed on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube midday every Monday. Topics that hopefully are useful for HR. But as I said, today I've got a question for you. So psychological safety, is this the key to banishing burnout in HR? What do we mean by psychological safety? First of all, what is burnout? What is psychological safety? And what can we do to make the difference? So psychological safety, if we look at I'm gonna kind of go for the definition on it on this one, so that we can all be kind of clear on where we are. So I've actually got the definition in front of me. It's not like me to prepare like this, is it? But the definition. So psychological safety. The definition states that it is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. And in teams, it refers to team members believing that they can take risks without being shamed by other team members. Okay, so the definition of psychological safety states that it's the belief, I think that's the key word there, belief, that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Okay. We then, if you've been doing any kind of reading, research, understanding, studying, even, just kind of reading articles or anything on psychological safety, lots of people will kind of talk about, I suppose, 5 ways in which we can create this psychological safety in the workplace. And again, the way in which we might translate this into our own language, our own way, maybe, again, very kind of unique for each of us. But a lot of people will talk about the kind of same 5 categories. And we have open and respectful communication, and a culture that enables this open and respectful communication, transparency, and that this transparency allows us to create trust. Thirdly, setting clear expectations. Fourthly, reframing failure and mistakes as learning opportunities. And 5th, taking a supportive and consultative approach to leadership. I don't know about you, but I know I'm working with a number of HR colleagues at the moment who would say that they have none of those 5 things within their organizations. With the clients that I'm working with, they will say that they do not have any of those 5 things within their organizations. They are trying to help to create it. Some of them are making progress, some are not. Some of them are starting to look for other opportunities elsewhere, and I cannot blame them. But I also want to kind of give you a few examples today of what is happening for some HR leaders out there, and to say that this is not happening. Okay, so psychological safety is, as we've kind of said, we should be able to make comments, suggestions, have ideas, basically without feeling that we're going to be humiliated, embarrassed, bullied, or suffer consequences as a result. Yeah. So is creating those 5 things going to help us to banish burnout in our organizations, just in the HR profession? Burnout, again, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I am very, very specific about what burnout is. Burnout is not just tiredness. It's not just exhaustion. Burnout is chronic stress. By chronic, we mean high levels of unhealthy stress that have been unmanaged for a long period of time. So it's high stress over a very long period of time. I'd love to say that a quick massage, a quick spa day, or a week off can fix it. But again, through my own experience, through the work that I do with my clients, and through what all of the studies will say to us, burnout can take a long time to recover from. A lot of the studies out there are saying it's taking around 3 years, which maybe by coincidence or not, my burnout definitely took longer than that. I navigated myself through it on my own, which is why I am so passionate about things like the HR Anti-Burnout Club, my monthly membership, where again, it's about live coaching, it's about support, it's about ensuring that happiness, health, and high performance are maintained within the HR space. I know what it feels like when you do not have that. I know what it feels like to feel as though you're completely on your own. And I was navigating myself through my burnout, not once, but twice. And it's taken me pretty much 10 years to be able to get through it from that space. A lot of the clients that I'm working with are now coming through it much quicker. I think some of that is the understanding that we've got, the signposting that people are able to do, the fact that we are talking about it more freely. There's much more support available. There's much more resources available out there. There's people like myself who are helping people through it by understanding exactly what it is. So we're starting to see it come through, but a lot of the studies out there will still say it can take up to 3 years, and from my experience, longer, to come through the other side of burnout. Which in comparison, there was a study earlier this year that said that it can take 3 years to recover from a toxic workplace. It can take 3 years to recover from a toxic workplace, and toxic workplaces are still the number one cause of burnout. Toxic workplaces are still the number one cause of burnout. So if we take toxic workplaces, if we look at these kind of 5 steps, or five ways to create this psychological safety in the workplace. If we were to flip those on their head, would they be creating toxicity within the workplace? So let's kind of take these one by one. So first, as we said, establishing this open and respectful communication culture. If you're live there, I'm not going to put words into anybody's mouth. Again, you may have your own words to be able to describe this, but the opposite of creating and establishing an open and respectful communication culture could fall potentially into the category of a toxic workplace. If we take our second point, which was being transparent, the fact that this can help to build trust, allowing, making sure that our people are the first to know about changes, making sure that we're transparent about how decisions are made, making sure that we're sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent, not kind of having every single conversation behind closed doors and just doing things on a kind of a need to know basis once we've got all of the details. Our people aren't stupid. Us as HR professionals are not stupid. We know when things are not as they should be within the organisation. So if we were to say the opposite of transparency, the opposite of building trust within our workplaces, would that contribute to toxic workplaces? Thirdly, we said about setting clear expectations. So ensuring that goals are articulated clearly, making sure that we are defining what success looks like, making sure that we are supporting ourselves and our people in reaching their goals. If we don't have these clear expectations, is that contributing to the creation of toxic workplaces? Fourthly, reframing failure as a mistake for learning opportunities. So owning our own and other people owning their own failures and mistakes. How do we in our organizations talk about failures and mistakes and ensure that we are carefully considering risk? Again, I don't know about you, but a number of the one-to-one clients that I'm supporting are seeing much more of a kind of command and control culture come into their organizations of late, whereby literally, any mistakes that are made, it's one mistake and you're out. Literally one mistake and you're out. Is that a psychologically safe workplace? Is that a toxic workplace? And if toxic workplaces are the number one cause of burnout, can psychologically safe workplaces banish burnout? And fifthly, we talk about this supportive and consultative approach to leadership. So ensuring that decisions are made collaboratively, ensuring that leaders have that level of rapport with their teams, that they have great relationships with their teams, that they can be honest and open. Visible leadership can make a huge difference to people within the workplace. So my belief is that absolutely psychologically safe workplaces can help to banish burnout. In the HR space, some of the examples that I'm seeing currently, and you may be familiar with some of these things may have happened to you. You may have seen them happen. You may have spoken to some of your peers or colleagues about similar things happening. But I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I was contacted a few weeks ago by a director of people and change to ask if I could, when their team come together in December, they're coming together for a couple of days, the team are flying in from all over the world. I was asked if I could do something for the HR team to help with their own well-being. And we got the dates in, we got the venue in, we'd sorted everything. And they contacted me late last week to say, we haven't got the go-ahead. The leadership team have decided that we need to make some changes within HR, and therefore we do not want to waste the money on any kind of development for the team until we know what the structure is going to look like. Now, this was about well-being. There are, again, there's stats, there's research, there's studies out there that are telling us currently that between 74% and 98% of HR professionals either have been, are at, or are close to burnout, between 74% and 98%. And a leadership team are not prepared to invest. They're already paying for the flights for everybody else to come over, but they are not prepared to invest in a half-day just a half-day session for an HR team to prioritize their well-being a week before Christmas. They're like, we're not doing it. Is that creating a psychologically safe environment? What is that? What's the message that's going out to that HR team? Remember, this is a global HR team. What's the message that's going out to that global HR team with everything that they have been working with over the last few years? What's that message? Is that creating safety, psychological safety, engagement? Is that creating that within that organization? I would say no. Another one of my clients has just been promoted. She's very, 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 very proud. She works for a global organization. She is in a different office to the rest of her kind of HR and people, HR and people colleagues. Her and her team are in a different office in a different location. But she recently has just been promoted. She's now pretty much overseeing the UK and Ireland for all of their kind of people ops stuff. There are 3 other HR directors that are in different parts of the business. They have smaller teams, a smaller remit, but they are based in the head office. And she was talking to me, like she'd got this promotion, she'd been promised this big pay rise, she was still waiting for this pay rise, but actually having a look around, she had worked out that the salary that she had been offered was actually quite a bit lower than anybody else doing the type of role that she is. So she kind of put some details together to have a conversation with her boss about the fact, I think the salary is a bit low. Plus, I've been waiting for a while. Like, I'm doing the job, but you're not paying me yet. Like, what's going on with it? And she found out that her other HR colleagues, if you like, at her level, but with a smaller remit than her, are being paid quite a lot more than her. And this just happened to kind of come up as part of a report that she was looking at. So she went and had a conversation with her boss to say, look, we've been having this conversation. This is part of the issue. And actually, it feels a little bit unfair. And her boss has said to her that it's extremely unprofessional for her to be using the pay of other people within the organization to try and negotiate her other salary. As a senior HR lead within the business, she should know better than to compare her salary to other colleagues. And like, she's gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. Is that creating what is that a psychologically safe workplace for her? She was already asking for something. She's then said, I happen to come across this information. It feels even more unfair. Like, this is how it's making me feel. And she's now being labelled as unprofessional for using information that she has come across to negotiate a salary, where basically she's just saying, her boss has basically said it feels like you're throwing your toys out of the pram a little bit. These kind of things have to stop. And I've got stories and stories and stories of stuff that I could be talking to you about here, but I just wanted to give those 2 because, again, when it comes to salary increases, when it comes to wanting development for ourselves or within our teams. I'm seeing these things happen on a repeated basis, particularly within the HR space. I'm speaking to HR leaders, and a lot of them actually, a lot of clients, a lot of one-to-one clients, when they come to me, firstly, will say, I'm going to be self-funding. And my question is, have you spoken to your boss? Have you spoken to the organization about them, paying for this for you? No. They would just say, they'd just say no. They don't invest in me. I don't get any kind of support. That's the feeling. And again, when we looked at that psychological safety definition, it's the belief. The belief is I am not valued enough. The belief is I will not be invested in. Now, I'd probably say 80% of the people that then go and ask get told, yeah, no problem, send us the invoice, we'll get it sorted for you. But out of those 80%, very few of them would have had that conversation if I had not said to them in that kind of discovery call, do you think your organisation will be prepared to do this for you? Oh, no, I don't know. What have you got to lose? Have the conversation. But I'm seeing more and more and more, and I get lots of leaders are still in crisis mode. David's popped a question in here. Does burnout cause command and control toxic workplaces? And yes, it absolutely can. I spoke about this a few weeks ago, didn't I? In terms of exhausted leaders, burned out, exhausted leaders are not operating or working from the logical, rational part of their brain. They're in the kind of fight or flight mode. They're in that command and control, and that is filtering right down through our organizations. If we have an exec team, a leadership team, a C-suite team, whatever you've got within your organization, if there is an added pressure from stakeholders, shareholders, boards, and everything that's putting additional pressure on, and then they're already burned out and exhausted and feeling like they have to be doing more, we are absolutely seeing much more fight or flight, a lack of rational, logical decision making within our organizations. We're seeing much more fight or flight. We're seeing much more fear and kind of fear-led leadership taking place within our organizations. But as this then starts to hit the HR and people teams that are already taking on so much more responsibility from the rest of the organization, because everybody is kind of at bursting point. Ultimately, when HR get to the point of burnout and they cannot have the conversations with people that they are ordinarily having because of the existing pressures across the organization, this is where organizations really, really begin to struggle. And this is well, it's HR's fault. And then HR start to get all of the blame for everything, when actually they've been shielding the rest of their kind of colleagues from lots of stuff already in the first place. Now, again, I'm not saying every single HR professional is fantastic at their job. I'm not saying that at all. In every profession, we will have some kind of bad apples, some people that don't quite get it, some people that don't quite listen, some people that haven't been supported or developed, some people that are maybe in it for the wrong reasons, some people that are maybe just kind of waiting until the kind of pension comes. We see that in every single sector. The people I'm working with are passionate people. They want to be making the difference. They want to be changing the world of work. They want to be doing things differently. They want to be putting people first, supporting leaders, supporting people, and genuinely making the world of work a better place to be. But they're hitting so many of these blocks and obstacles. And if HR do not feel psychologically safe, and they stop having the conversations and they stop challenging, they stop doing all of those things, that ripples through the rest of the organization. But it also creates more stress. It creates more burnout, because if HR stay quiet and hold all of that in without any support within the organizations, you will reach burnout. You will reach burnout. And nobody chooses burnout. I did not choose burnout. Any of my clients that have got to the point of burnout do not choose burnout. It's not on the kind of list of career objectives, right? Get to HRD level, hit burnout, like tick, yeah, job done. It's not anything that anybody wants to, and most of us never think it will happen to us anyway. But again, I'm speaking to people that have been continuing to strive and push for 3 years, 5 years, 2 years. We've got to make it change. We've got to make the change much better. And we as HR professionals can be starting to create some of this change. David says she probably now needs to be careful not to miss the subtle signs of constructive dismissal. We've got that sorted anyway. We've got that sorted. Thanks, Kelly. We're also seeing the same within our data, especially if you factor in potential overpromotion. Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing similar things across the sector. So I suppose my answer to the question, again, I'm not, you'll make your own minds up about this, but if toxic workplaces are still the number one cause of burnout, and between 74 and 98% of HR professionals are at burnout, then actually, yes, psychological safety can create happier, healthier workplaces, and therefore we can banish burnout. Now, again, I'm not saying this is all down to organisations. I saw there was an article, a few people actually had tagged me in the comments of an article that I think actually looking at it had been doing the rounds for a few years. There was an article about burnout just being the responsibility of the organisation. There are a few things that I want to kind of pick up on that. When we say the organisation is people, right? The organisation is people. Without the people, there is no organisation. So when we're saying burnout is the organisation's responsibility, we're saying it's the responsibility of the people within the organisation. Now, I get they were probably in the article, they were referring to the leaders. And yes, leadership can play a big part, but ultimately, every single one of us is responsible for banishing burnout. In 2013, when I hit that really, really big burnout, as you know, again, if you've been following me for a while, you will know that I still live with 3 health conditions, 3 lifelong severe health conditions as a result of that burnout that I hit in 2013. The toxicity of the workplace that I was in absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, contributed to the severity and level of the burnout that I experienced. Equally, I could have left when my gut said to me, this is not the place for you. And that was on day 1 of that organisation. Again, if you've been following me for a while, if you've read my book about it, you will know I spoke about it. So on day 1 in that role, I'd been headhunted for this position. On day 1 within that role, my gut was screaming at me, get out of here. And I didn't. And 6 months later, my gut was still screaming at me, get out of here. And I didn't. So when I hit burnout 2.5 years later, severe burnout. Remember, 2 operations in 48 hours, the physical pain that I'd been experiencing for 7 months. I was passing out from the level of pain that my body was literally screaming at me. I could have left. So we are all responsible for banishing burnout. We are all responsible for well-being. We are all responsible for creating psychological safety within our workplaces. The whole kind of name, blame, and shame thing, we have to stop. If your leaders are toxic, yes, there might be some burnout happening for them. Yes, there might be some stress happening for them. But single-handedly, as the HR lead or the HR pro within that organization, single-handedly, you're not going to detoxify that leadership team. Not going to happen. You're not going to detox a toxic culture on your own. It's not going to happen. But we are all responsible for creating psychological safety. We are all responsible for banishing burnout. And yes, we can all look at the issues that are going on within our organizations. If you haven't got those 5 factors of psychological safety in your workplace, what can you do to help facilitate that change within the organization? But I'll continue to say again, if the very senior team, if they do not value within HR within the organization, I will guarantee you that they do not value the people within that organization. And if you have a leadership team that is not valuing the people within the organization, burnout is going to be happening at levels across the organization if people do not leave before then. That's my half an hour. Any questions, any comments? If not, I'm going to see you all next week. I have to do this again, don't I? I'm like, I'll be back with you again next Monday. And I can never remember what I'm talking about, can I? Let's see what we're doing next week. Oh, I'm not doing anything with you next week because I have got a full day training session. Have I put it in for any other day next week? No, I have not. So I'm not with you next week. Good job I checked. I'm not back with you until the 13th of November. So you've got a break from me next week. I'm back with you on the 13th of November. And on the 13th of November, I'm back with you midday Monday. And I'm talking to you about the power of why. The power of why for HR leaders. So it's a good job I checked, isn't it? So I will see you midday, Monday, 13th of November, where I'm talking about the power of why for HR leaders. Any questions, any comments that you want to come back to me with, if you've got something that you want to message me privately, LinkedIn is always the best place for private messages. So if you are watching this either on Facebook or YouTube, best place to get hold of me. If you pop it in the comments, I'll see it. But if you want to kind of, I suppose, slide into my DMs, do so on LinkedIn if you've got questions or comments about today. If not, I'm going to say happy Monday all, and I will see you all on midday Monday, the 13th at 12. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing week. Thanks, David. Thanks, Kerry. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back with you again for 2 weeks' time.